Facebook Live, so thrilled to have you with us from Summit 2017. And we have an absolutely amazing crowd, as you heard them here. And just moments ago, this guy, John Maxwell, just gave a phenomenal talk on our live stage, and he's here with us. So, long time no see, buddy, but good to be with you.
Yeah, it's always good to be with you, Ken.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Aren't these people, they're awesome, aren't they?
Oh, you got a standing ovation and a curtain call, is that right?
Yeah.
Did you get a curtain call?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, well, they read the sign that said stand, and they read the sign that said curtain.
That's right. So, hey, we want to talk for a little bit for these folks that are watching from home. They're not able to be here in this amazing crowd and hear what you talked about. So let's just go into a little bit about what you said. And one of the things I loved is you just broke down for people the power of intentionality, this idea of you got to keep growing, never stop growing. Why is that so important?
Well, the only guarantee, Ken, that tomorrow's going to get better is that you're getting better now. I mean, think about what an assumption it is to think, I'm not doing anything and growing today, but somehow tomorrow it'll be different. Tomorrow's going to be basically what I do today. And so I want people to understand the power of intentionality. Intentionality is the bridge between good intentions and good actions. And what happens is we all have good intentions, only a few have good actions. And the few that have good actions are the people that have taken that bridge of intentionality and they've said, I'm going to do what I know, and I'm going to follow through on what I think. Yeah. And so we talked about just being intentional in your personal growth. It's not an accident. Everything worthwhile is uphill. That's right. And by the way, nobody ever said, if somebody gets to the top and you say, how did you get to the top? You've never heard a person say, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just woke up and here I was.
I just wandered up here.
Yeah, I just wandered. Oh my gosh, I'm so surprised. No, they know exactly how they got to the top. Right. Because they had to climb it. They had to be intentional.
One of the things that I know about you, having worked with you, and you folks don't know this, but years ago I had the opportunity to work with John for about 3 years, and I learned this from you. And one of the things that you're intentional about is getting with other people, not just your own books and things that you write, but other books that you read. But you've been intentional since a young man to get with other people and ask them questions. And years ago, you had the opportunity to meet John Wooden, arguably the greatest coach of any sport to ever live. And you got a day with him, and you went and asked hundreds of questions. I want you to talk to these folks at home when it comes to intentionality, how important it is to get with other people that you admire, that know something that you want to learn.
Yeah, well, the question you want to ask, this is the magic question, literally. When you go to somebody and they've put some value in your life, the question you want to ask them is, who do you know that I should know? Yeah. That's the great networking question. I've asked that question hundreds of times, and it's led me to the White House. It led me to John Wooden. I literally asked a guy in Orlando that was a principal of a school, who do you know that I should know? And he said, well, I know John Wooden. And I said, well, I'd like to know him. And he said, well, if you go out to Los Angeles next month, you can meet him. And so I did. Now, here's what I want you to understand. When you have an opportunity to meet somebody like this, be prepared, be ready. When opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. And so a month before I went to see John Wooden, I bought every book he had written. I read them all. Mm-hmm. I took notes from them, got my questions from them, and so we went to breakfast. I was going to get a 2-hour breakfast meeting with John Wooden at his favorite cafe. So we sat down. We did small talk for about 10 minutes, and I'm wanting to get to my questions, to be honest with you. And finally, he looked at me and said, "John, do you have any questions?" I said, "Yes." And so I got my briefcase, and I put a legal pad up on the table in that little diner where we're having breakfast, and he saw that the whole first page had questions. And he looked, oh my goodness, he said, "Are those questions you want to ask me?" I said, "Well, yeah, there's some of them." He said, "What do you mean some of them?" I said, "I have more." I went to page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. I had 5 pages of questions. I said, "Do you mind if I ask you a few?" He said, "We better get started." That was at 8:30 in the morning. At 4 o'clock, I left his home. And we'd only gotten through the first page. And he looked at me and said, "John, we didn't get all your questions answered. Would you like to come back?"
Wow.
Now, here's the key. When you have your first meeting with somebody important, you don't want to make it your last meeting.
That's right.
So what you do is you prepare in such a way that you grab hold of that person that's mentoring you and teaching you, and they're saying, would you like to do it again? He told me later that I had more questions to ask him on my first visit than anybody who'd ever come to see him. And he said, I couldn't get over how ready you were for me. And just remember that when you're going to be with somebody, get ready for them. You follow me? Because you may only ever get that hour, and you want to maximize it. And remember, it's the questions that direct the conversation.
Yes.
So just be ready so that when your time comes, you maximize that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there's also something else there, and you've taught me this as well. Folks want to get with somebody they think, they admire or make them a mentor because they want them to help them, and that's the wrong spirit. You went in and you said, John, teach me. And when you went in, he saw your spirit,
yep.
And he said, all right, I'm going to give you more time than I probably even imagined because you want to learn, not help me. Don't go to somebody who can help you and say, John, help me. Go, hey, would you teach me? I want to learn. Big difference, right?
Oh, it's a huge. I would rather have an idea than have a hand.
That's good.
Because the idea, is the greatest commodity in the world. A good idea is great. And so, yes, I always go to a person not asking, what can you give me? I always ask them, what can I learn from you? What can you teach me? And I find that, again, if you're teachable, they have something to offer to you. And then whatever let me just say something else. I met a guy named Courtney McBath out of up Newport area. Anyway, the first time I spent time with him, it was a good time. And he said, could I see you again? And I said, go work on what I gave you. And when you're ready to call me back. So he called me back and he said, could I see you again? And I'm just kind of hesitating for a moment. He said, before you answer that, could I just share with you what I learned from the last time? I said, sure. He said, okay, this is what you said. This is what I did. This is what I learned. This is what I changed. Can I ask you some more questions? I said, you sure can.
Absolutely.
He gave me fruit. He gave me a return. You follow me on what I said. It was that, and it connected with me, and I mentored him for probably a couple of years because he was taking everything I gave him and he was maximizing what I gave him, which is huge.
John, you've written so many books, and my personal favorite is a topic that I think every person in the universe is going to have to deal with. So in our remaining couple minutes, I want you to encourage people on this idea that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. It addresses the universal reality of failure. Anybody that's going for something is going to fail. That's Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
That's you pick any champion from any sector of life. Teach us about the value of learning from our losses.
We all have how many of you failed out there? How many of you failed?
That's everybody out there on Facebook as well. Yeah, exactly.
You with me?
That's right.
I mean, sometimes I think I fail so many times I think it's a spiritual gift in my life. Okay. So when a person wants to talk about their failure to me, of course I want to listen. But I'm waiting for them to finish that so I can ask them, what did you learn from that failure? Because can I tell you something? If you didn't learn from your last failure, you're going to do it again. See, repeated failure in the same area is a result of not learning. And so when I fail, when you fail, we have two responses. We either learn from that failure and improve ourselves, get better, change, correct, or what most people do is when they fail, they're embarrassed by it, so they get away from it as quickly as they can. They leave it. I mean, they're like, oh, I didn't do it, or I wasn't there, or my gosh, I'm not there. And what happens is if you leave your failure without learning, you'll come back to it. Because remember this, failure never leaves you until you learn from it. It will come back time and time again. And I watch people constantly can just go back into the same hole, and I think, my God, what happened to them? Well, what happened to them is, and they got embarrassed, so they got out of the hole as quick as they could and, made excuses instead of staying there. I say this, when you fall down, while you're down there, why don't you just clean up the floor? Yeah. You're already down there. You know what I mean? Just learn something from it, glean something from it. And then one of the real quick thing, I love the guy who said, we value tenacity. So the guy got knocked down. He gets back up, knocked down, back up, And we say, oh, what a great guy. He just keeps getting back up. And I want to say, stop, wait a minute. While you're down there, don't get back up. Don't get back up.
Right.
Stay there. Don't get back up until you know why you got knocked down.
Yes.
Because when you get back up, you're not tenacious without learning. You're just stupid.
Yep.
Are you with me?
That's right.
Don't be stupid. Learn in that process so that when you get back up, you don't get back knocked down by the same thing again. It's a process of learning.
So good. Well, folks, you can tell he's got a lot to say. And that's just a snippet of what he said to our crowd. He is John Maxwell. Appreciate you, John, for being with us. You've made us better.
Love you,
you added value. And to you folks on Facebook Live, stay with us. We've got more amazing content coming to you from this stage. So we'll talk with you again very soon.
Thank you.